Yeah, how did you feel about this movie?
I liked it more than I expected.
I liked it less than I expected.
Wow. All right. Well, I had not even seen the trailer before I watched it, so I had zero expectation.
I hadn't seen the trailer, but I had seen some people who I respect referring it. So I came in with high expectations.
I have very little research that I'm going to bring up on this one because there's just not a lot.
Okay. I did a little bit of research on this one too.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I'm full of surprises. I'm here to shock the listener. Welcome to Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And Nate is not here this time. It's just us. It's just us this week. Nate joined us for the internet series, but we have moved on to a new series about loss,
which we're gonna make real funny.
Yeah, we're gonna crack you up about loss. So if you're healing, tune in. So this week we watched and we are about to discuss The Possession of Michael King, which is a movie about a man, Michael King, you might have gathered that, who loses his wife in a tragic accident. And he has always been an outspoken atheist, and he has decided after her death, he wants to prove or disprove the existence of the supernatural. That sort of is how he's coping with the loss of her. And he wants to disprove the existence of supernatural by using himself as bait in order to provoke a possession. So that's what we're working with.
Whenever we watched Host, we described it as like a fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out. He's gung-ho about fucking around.
Super gung-ho about it.
And this motherfucker finds out. So what you said you didn't have a ton of research. What did you find?
Well, the movie is the first film done by David. Is it Jung? If it's G-U-N-G, how is that pronounced, guys? You know who's talking right now, so you know I'm not going to say it right. Would it be Young? Would it be like a soft J?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know this one either.
Well, we'll just call him David. He was the writer-director, but it was also written by Teddy.
His last name is crazy. I understand the struggle that you're about to experience.
Okay. He also wrote Tank Girl.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he didn't write the comic books, but he did write the movie. So he wrote the movie based on the comic books. Yeah.
Okay, so that guy's like a movie veteran.
Mm-hmm.
He's been around for a while.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So that's really all I know about it. It came out in 2014. Oh, I did read a part where David had talked about how he kind of wanted it to be like he used The Shining as inspiration. So he said that he sees a lot of these films about possession and they're all told from the perspective of somebody around the person, but they're never told from the perspective of the person being possessed. And I was like, oh, I haven't seen that. He is not wrong.
Yeah, so that's something I for sure left out of the description of the movie. It is a found footage style movie. It's framed as though the possessed is a documentary filmmaker. And so the whole movie is him filming himself. He's talking into the camera like 75% of the time, and the rest of the time his house is wired for film and sound.
And then he's got a friend who is helping him, Jordan. Character's name is Jordan. He is one of the guys in Galaxy Quest. I can't remember the name of the actor. I saw him and immediately recognized him. But you don't see him very often. You see him like in two scenes. Once in a reflection. And
then the other time when he frees Michael from his handcuffs.
Bad call on that one.
Bad call.
Bad call.
Use context clues, Jordan.
But I did appreciate that. That's how the story is told. Because I mean, found footage, you were able to go on the journey outside of it with somebody carrying a camera, holding a camera. And it was like you were watching a movie and it wasn't necessarily I don't know. I liked kind of that aspect of it. And then you kept being reminded that somebody was holding the camera.
Yeah.
Because Jordan would then say something because something crazy would happen. And I'd be like, oh yeah, Jordan's there. Sweet.
Jordan was fun.
Are we going to jump into the beginning of the film? I was going to say, how did you feel after having the scary thing happen in your house after watching that?
Oh my God, I didn't even consider the relationship. So I watched this movie earlier this week, and then either later that night or later the next night, I heard a sound in my house. My cat and I were in bed. We were watching trash TV. I told y'all I'm rewatching Criminal Minds. Heard something in the house. And typically when I hear something in the house, I'm like, that's a pipe. That's a wall settling. Like it doesn't bother me. But it sounded like something hit the wood floors. And I was fully ready to write it off. But my cat perked up and like stood up in bed. His little fur was raised and he was staring out the door and was clearly nervous to move. So I got up and checked it out. All the doors were locked. I didn't see anything out of place. I couldn't find anything that had fallen down. So I came back to bed. But my cat was still so agitated. For another 5 minutes, he just stood on the bed with like one paw raised as though he was like ready to run. He eventually goes and explores on his own, and he's gone for like 20 minutes. He's not making any noise out there. I'm calling for him, trying to get him to come back to bed. He's gone. He eventually comes back, like I said, like 20 minutes later, and he gets into bed and he like reluctantly sits down. Like he sits down, but his tail is still alert and he is staring at the bedroom door. Like we heard something and I don't know what it was. Maybe somebody like knocked on the door.
No.
Or maybe I'm about to be possessed. Maybe I taunted the wrong demon. I don't remember doing any rituals.
Oh, good.
But I sleptwalk as a child, so who knows what I've been up to.
I was talking about this right before we started recording, but I did not sleep last night. And I watched the movie last night.
You think it's related?
It's related to your story.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I associated it with it immediately. And I was like, oh, God. And I'm like, I always have the heebie-jeebies all the time, and especially movies about possession. You know me.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, so then I was like, oh, God. I was like, is something weird going to happen to me now?
Oh, no.
And so, like, I went to sleep, and I shit you not. I don't know if you have work stress dreams, but have you ever had a dream about a haunted spreadsheet?
I can't say that I have. What is the nature of the haunting? Like if you click on a cell, a ghost pops out, or like
honestly, so the thought in my head, I remember waking up and being like, oh no, I have to complete the spreadsheet.
Oh, no.
But it was like in weird gold writing, but it had like everyone's fears on it, but the fears were like coming off the page and like forming things. And I remember the weirdest part was like I looked over to my bathroom, which has like a little like nightlight on so I can see. And it looked fuzzy, like you're watching like a TV and like fuzzies out on you. And then I immediately was like, well, I'm not going back to sleep.
Shit, dude. Oh, no.
And then 5 minutes later, I was like, a fucking spreadsheet. Of course. Of course my nightmare would be a spreadsheet.
I like that it was like spreadsheet meets Bogart. Like, like you're categorizing, you're cataloging everybody's fears, but also they can attack you.
Yeah, it's just so weird. I was like,
oh no, I'm so sorry.
No, and then when I woke up, I was like, but it's like when you're in half dream state and you're so like gung ho about what you're dreaming about. And I'm like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing in the world right now. But I watched it and then I associated it. But that's also probably why I found it more enjoyable, because I associated it with a real life story.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So if we had swapped places, if I had told you about some creepy thing, if I had told you about haunted spreadsheets before you watched it, maybe.
Yeah, I could have had a totally different experience.
Yeah.
There are a couple things that I want to talk about the movie as a whole. One, I really, really loved the depiction of ritual in this movie. I loved the first 20 to 30 minutes of this film. I thought it was so good. Loved that first conceit, and we'll get into that in a minute. Just really loved seeing that in a movie. I feel like we don't get that very often. Yeah, so I guess let's get into like the plot of the movie. So it opens on what we come to learn is a flashback. It's a home, I guess not a flashback, but it's a home movie filmed by Michael King of his wife and daughter and dog. And they're talking about their New Year's resolutions. And Michael's New Year's resolution is dumb as hell. He's like, I want to make a documentary about my perfect family to show the world how lucky I am. Nobody wants to watch that. I'm sorry, Michael. Then we are with Michael King, and he is with a fortune teller, and he's asking sort of probing questions like, do you believe in what you're doing? Do you think that this might be a scam? Do you ever tell people just what they want to hear? And she denies all of that. And he goes on to tell her that he and his wife were very happy together. And the wife had always wanted to go to Europe on a trip. And so he planned this whole trip, and the trip was canceled because this fortune teller told her that she was about to get her big acting break. So she needed to stay in town. And while they were meant to be in Europe, that's when this accident occurred, wherein the wife died. So Michael is pretty clearly blaming the fortune teller for his wife's death. He's very much like, if you hadn't said this, we would still be happy together. We would have been able to take our trip. She would still be alive. And he keeps saying, admit it. Like, admit that you're a fraud, admit that you're a scam. And she gently asks him to leave. Right off the bat, I want to talk about Michael. Like we've had one real scene with him. And I know that in the home movies, he was talking about how much he's an atheist. Like when he says that his resolution is to make a video about, or make a documentary about how lucky he is, he thanks God. And then his wife says something like, oh, it would help if you believed in him. And he's like, ha ha ha. Yeah, I guess it would. But we establish in his current documentary that he wants to prove that religion and spiritualism are scams. He goes on sort of a long tirade, and I am going to be honest with you, zoned out, because I went to college with a bunch of guys like this, and I was like, got it, yada, yada, yada.
It all starts to sound the same after a while.
Exactly. Like, I get it. You don't believe in the stuff. That's fine. You're going to try to prove that the stuff doesn't exist. And my big problem with that is it is very hard to prove a negative. It's established on here that I'm a software engineer. I studied to be that. I took a lot of math courses wherein I had to do proofs. I had to prove that 1 + 1 = 2. Doing a proof is a very logical exercise. You can't prove a negative. It's very, very hard to prove a negative. So right off the bat, out of the movie, I was like, okay, so we're trying to do something impossible. Got it. Like, it doesn't matter. You could spend the rest of your life trying to pursue a possession, and if it doesn't happen, you can't say, well, that proves that demons don't exist. That's not a proof.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen to you. Fortunately, that's not how the movie goes.
Fortunately.
Hella gets possessed.
Oh yeah.
And not only was he trying to prove that spiritualism doesn't exist, he was hoping that his documentary would be like a stepping stone for humanity. He was like, I'm going to disprove this, and then humanity can move on. Okay. Honey.
He just needed to have purpose after everything going awry.
That's a generous way to look at it. You're right.
And since we're talking about this being about loss, like I watched the entire movie through the lens of loss. Like even his blaming the
fortune teller.
I keep saying, I want to say psychiatrist. Yeah, thank you. Psychic, fortune teller. He wanted to blame her, but it's like, whenever you do lose someone, like you want someone to blame.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you want to you just have a feeling of like helplessness, and you want it to be directed at something, anything at all. And he just chose the fortune teller to direct that too. And I feel like, and after that, there's a point where he's doing stuff with his documentary, and I think his sister comes in and she's like, this isn't helping her. This isn't what she'd want.
Yeah, he's trying to tell her that this is how he's moving on, and she's like, this isn't moving on.
It's more of like an obsession of not moving on. It's more of an attachment to not moving on.
Yeah, it's almost like he says that he wants to disprove religion and spiritualism, but it's almost like he wants proof of it so that he knows his wife is somewhere.
Yeah.
Still there. And I also wanted to bring up this is a big spoiler for the end of the movie. I don't know. Sorry.
Well, we never spoil anything here. So
no spoilers. All spoilers. Oops, all spoilers. So you were saying he wants somebody to blame, and that's why he sort of focuses on the fortune teller. I think a big part of that is because
he's to blame.
You could say he's at fault.
Yeah,
for
sure.
I think you're right. He's looking for somewhere else to lay that because it's too big for him to carry on his own.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think we're done. All right, you guys.
We did it. We covered Lost. We'll see you next week.
There's nothing that happens in between, I promise.
So he says he wants to mess with the blackest of black magic to seek out proof, or I guess to disprove the existence of etc. So what he does is he puts a post on Craigslist, documentary filmmaker seeking proof of the paranormal, and he gets hundreds of responses, and the one that he investigates first is from a dying priest. And this priest tells him that the Catholic Church does do exorcisms. They don't talk about it, but they do them. But the most compelling part of his story is his experience with evil. So he tells a story about how when he was a kid, his stepfather,
I think it was his father. Yeah, father.
I thought it was his father too. The Wikipedia said stepfather, and I was
Wikipedia's wrong.
Wikipedia's wrong. So his father sexually abused him as a child. And when he was little, every night his dad would come into his room and he would pray to God for this to just stop. And that went on for ages and nothing ever changed. And then he started praying to Satan. And very shortly after that, his father dropped dead of a heart attack. And he was like, damn, Satan pays dividends. But he goes on to say something that's like critical to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start listening, like you can never let Satan know that you're listening, because then he knows that you're there and he'll never stop bothering you. And that's big in the movie. My question about this priest is like, okay.
Yeah.
So Satan knew that you were listening when you were a kid, and you went on to become a priest and you're dying of cancer? So no possession there? Like, how did he last so long?
Did he know he was listening? Maybe he didn't listen.
But then how would he know?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. That character didn't get as fleshed out as I expected him to. I did expect him to come back, and he did not for specific reasons.
He super died. It was the cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. I expected him to come back and be a part of it, but it just seems like he was used as a plot point to move forward those words.
Yeah. He was just there to like say some spooky shit because Michael does not believe any of this. He basically says, okay, great story. Bye, and leaves him.
I did like the part where he says, oh, there's no documentation of anything supernatural. And he was like, yes, there is. And
yeah, but like...
he was like, nah, I haven't seen it. And he was like, because they don't want you to see it. And I was like...
well, that's convenient. Then he buys a demon summoning kit off the internet, and I really liked this scene. This was very funny. He has like your traditional black candles. He's commenting on how the demon summoning kit, it comes with like a little miniature altar, and he points out that it's plastic. I thought this was very funny.
Yeah, I agree. I did like this scene.
And he like is sort of doing this all tongue in cheek. He's not bringing his whole self to the demon summoning. This is my favorite part of the movie, where he's just like trying different stuff. So after he does this take home demon summoning kit, he goes to a proclaimed demonologist. This is my favorite part of the movie. So he goes to this demonologist and he sets him down and he's like, okay, there are a lot of ways to summon a demon. A lot of them take a lot of time and a lot of effort. I like to use shortcuts. And so he pours him like a little Dixie cup of LSD. So the whole gang, it's the demonologist and his wife and Michael all take the LSD, and Jordan is just there to document. And this is a crazy scene. They have a basement dungeon, I guess.
Yeah.
The demonologist says we can take the long route, or we can create like a frenetic energy that is filled with sex and violence, and demons are attracted to that. So he has him take the LSD, and then he has him scry to find the demon he wants to talk to. Are you familiar with automatic writing?
From Charmed.
Okay. So what do you
bit.
know about it? Yeah, you describe it.
Well, they would, for the most part, they would use it to try to find things on like a map.
Yes. I think that that's more traditionally scrying, but automatic writing is like a broader umbrella. So you can even use automatic writing in ghost hunting, which I think
like
is
a
where
Ouija board, but without the board.
A little, and I think it's less demony. Typically,
oh, that's good.
Like in the movie,
except for this one.
Yeah. But I think that automatic writing has less of a stigma.
Oh, well, I guess that's good.
Ouija. But the basic idea is the person who is going to conduct the automatic writing goes into a trance, and the spirit is able to use their hand to write something out. And so there are stories of automatic writing of people writing in languages that they don't know or in handwriting that they don't have. This has also been done trying to study like astral projection. So somebody who who claims to astral project can automatic draw an image that they see and what they're trying to project. I don't know. This is real stuff. Oh, well, real in quotes. This is not made up for the movie. So he automatic writes an image of a demon, and it's like scribbled, and he doesn't believe that he did it. But they look it up in their, like, I don't know, a big book of demons.
Yeah. Demon Encyclopedia.
It's the Demon Encyclopedia. And they find like an image of a demon that matches what he has drawn. And it just looks like a little ant head. It's like the head of an ant.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a circle with like...
I'm glad that that's what you took. I was like, oh, is that just... I thought it was like a spider-looking thing, but the ant checks out.
The ant
especially
checks out.
What we learn about it.
Yeah, so they're like, dope, that's the demon we're going to conjure. They take him downstairs, and he's sort of exploring their basement alone. Did you notice anything? He's poking around the basement, and then he opens a side door.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you notice about that side door?
Is it not just like a closet of dildos?
Yeah.
Are you saying not everyone has that side door? I don't know. I thought it comes with the house. Does it?
I just don't keep it in my basement. I keep it ground level.
Okay, I was going to say, because I opened my closet when I moved in and they were there, so I just assumed everyone had them.
Yeah, I mean, I curate them. I collect them, but I keep them like in a well-lit space.
We keep it in a glass.
Like a curio cabinet. Yeah. I just want people to know what they're getting into.
No, but they put it in a dark corner in the basement. I don't know why they could do that.
And I just wanted to call out the big purple double-ended one.
I did see that one. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, cool. It was right there. It was like on a workbench in your basement. Like they're down there like hammering stuff together, and they're like, ooh, you know what I need? To recreate that scene from
Requiem for a Dream?
Yes, thank you.
That nightmare.
And that's sort of what the scene turns into. Like lots of strobes. They strap Michael down to a cross, and he's shirtless now, and he's got the ant face of the demon on his chest. What
was it painted in blood?
It looked like blood. Where'd they get this blood? I
don't know, but he had to give his semen right beforehand.
So that's right. I forgot they made him do the semen.
Yeah. What did they use that for? I wouldn't trust those people with that.
Yeah, I don't know what they used it for, but I was like, this is, I think they just used it to charge the sigil.
Oh, okay.
The movie didn't explain that, but I have like read a little bit about chaos magic.
Okay.
I think maybe that's what they used it for.
Okay.
Like maybe his chest is covered in his own jizz?
Yeah, there is a point after that where they're at the bar and he says something about his bloody jizz. And I was like, meh.
Oh.
Meh.
Yeah, he doesn't come out of this great. So, like I said, but he's strapped down to this cross. Jordan is just filming, and the demonologist and his partner come down, and they're wearing crazy masks and robes, and they're like chanting in Latin, and then they're just fully having sex over him while he's chained to the thing. So, yeah, like Chelsea mentioned, they're in a Michael and Jordan are in a bar later, and Michael is just staring off into the distance.
I liked this.
I did too.
And Jordan kept just giving him shit the entire time.
Yeah, Jordan was like, "Do you want me to order you chili?"
And he just kept describing foods, and he was like, "I don't want to eat ever again, please." And then he was like, "I want you to enjoy this. You're running through a forest. You're running through a forest.
Just enjoy the high. Just enjoy the high."
I like Jordan. Jordan was my favorite.
I liked Jordan a lot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he goes home, I guess, on LSD. He goes home to his sister and his little girl. And like I said, he's got cameras all over his house. He's filming all of this. And he wakes up from a nightmare. Chelsea, you had nightmares. Is this the start of the movie?
Dude, shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry. But
I didn't hear like whispering or talking. Just spreadsheets.
Yeah, then it's fine. That's just a normal stress dream.
Yeah.
You haven't seen any demonologists recently, have you?
No.
Yeah, just a normal stress dream.
Yeah.
So what happens next in the movie is he goes to see a mortician who is also a necromancer. And this was goofy. They even sort of talk about it in the movie that you don't see much necromancy depicted in pop culture because there's such taboo around it. So it was fun to see this guy be like a dork about it. He was a huge dork and very excited to be on camera and to talk about necromancy.
I feel like it was interesting. I didn't know much about it, so
this is one of the things I tried to research. The necromancer is like, okay, we're going to try to conjure a recently dead spirit into your body. One of the ways we're going to do that is to make your body, one, as like pretty close to death, and two, as close to the dead person's body as possible. And the way he does that latter bit is he stitches the dead person's teeth into Michael's stomach.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That's something I tried to research. I was like, is this real necromancy? Is this an actual ritual? I couldn't find anything on it.
Okay, there are multiple things in this that I couldn't find stuff on because there isn't a demon that is in charge of ants.
No, and they even said the demon's name, and I tried to look up that demon. Can't find a record of it.
Okay, good, because I was like, ants are chill. I like ants.
So this demon in the movie is like in control of ants, wants to steal children.
He said he was the demon of exactly what Michael is.
Non-believers, yeah.
That's it, non-believers.
Yeah. When they said he was a demon who wants to steal children, I was like, is this a demon from The Possession? But it's not. It's a different name.
What was that one? Azazel? No, that's not right.
Pazuzu.
Oh, okay.
Pazuzu?
Yeah. Kazoo?
What was it?
Like a kazoo? Banjo-Kazooie.
Do you remember the end of the movie where the priest is like yelling the name over and over again?
That's what I was picturing in my head when I was trying to say it.
I can't remember.
That's fine.
Different demons, though.
Different possession.
So yeah, this demon made up, which is a bummer. And so is this ritual, as far as I can tell. This weird mortician also harvests DMT from a toad.
Yeah, which is weird. Do toads actually make DMT? Because isn't it from a plant?
You know, I didn't look that up. So he processes the DMT to make Michael smoke. But when Michael and Jordan get to the cemetery where they're actually going to do the ritual, the necromancer he's like staked a bunch of frogs dead in a circle around this grave. It's like medieval.
And he's like, well, their pain and suffering
is going to help with
the ritual. And I was like, oh, poor frogs.
But part of me is weirdly like, well, at least they're not mammals. You know?
Which does happen later on.
Yeah, mammal dies later. So he like makes Michael smoke this DMT and he's laying on the grave and Jordan is filming it. And then the cops show up and they're like shining their lights on them and everybody bolts. And here's my question. How did Michael run on DMT?
I don't think he didn't.
Oh, you think Samantha did it?
Oh, that's really nice. No, I didn't. I thought it was Ant-Man.
Oh. His name starts with a B. I don't remember.
Yeah, can we just call him Ant-Man from now on? Because that's all Ant-Man. I know him as.
Now I'm just picturing Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Right? Oh, God, that would be so good.
Yeah, this movie's better.
Let's rewrite it.
I've got an edit. So the cops show up, everybody bolts, and Jordan finds himself in like a crypt in the cemetery. And he thinks Michael has run in there, but Michael is not responding. But then we hear a voice, a crazy voice, just repeating the word crawl. So spooky. And Jordan is like, Michael, let's get out of here. Like, what are you doing? And he finds himself in a larger chamber within the crypt and discovers Michael standing up on a ledge, like on the second story, essentially, of this tall ceilinged crypt. And he is Blair Witching himself.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah, facing the wall. Sounds like he's the one saying crawl. And when Michael turns around, so we're in like night vision at this point. And when Michael turns around, his eyes look crazy. And
Does everyone's eyes look crazy in night vision?
I don't think like this, though.
I don't look at a lot of night vision.
I kind of do because
I don't look at a lot of Hitler. So
I watch a lot of ghost hunters, and their eyes look like eyes.
Their eyes do look like eyes, but they look like almost like cat eyes. Like they're even shinier.
Definitely shinier, but his were like
black.
His were like black, and he turns around and says, "I don't want to be dead."
Oh yeah, that was a weird one.
So spooky, and he gets down somehow. He like comes out of his trance and ultimately tells Jordan and later the cameras alone that in that moment he saw Sam. He could feel her. He knew she was there and she was trying to get a message to him, but he couldn't make it out. You look so sad.
It just made me sad. Like that moment, I mean, I know, spoiler. You do find out she's trying to reach out to him this entire time.
Yeah.
But have you watched the show Evil? Have we talked about this? I think we talked about this.
You have recommended it. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, well, they try to, like, the show, like, balances, is this not real? Is this real? Is this someone's interpretation of it in their brain? I mean, I know that they're still going more for the supernatural aspect than anything else, but I like the balance between the two. Then I also saw this movie as a balance between that. Like,
oh, you did?
Even then, yeah, like when you go on DMT, like you're having your end of life experience, you're having your flashbacks, you're reaching into something, like, and you're on LSD the other time. Mm-hmm. And there are times whenever even like shrooms, LSD, they can unlock something. Like if you have a predisposition to like schizophrenia or something, it could unlock it. Sure. It could bring it forth or something like that. So that was another part. I was like, maybe doing all these drugs brought something forth in him that he did not know existed. But I mean, obviously that's not what they were actually trying to do. It is a possession from the perspective of somebody with a possession or that has been possessed. But that's what I was trying to see it through the lens of as well, because anything that has to do with something that is supernatural, I try to see it through the lens of how can it be explained, even if it is supernatural. And through that, even him trying to be skeptic about it, I was like, well, you may have unlocked something with all them drugs you've been doing, kid.
Lots of drugs, lots of grief.
Yeah.
I sort of wanted the movie to toy with that idea more.
Yeah.
You know, like we're spending a lot of time on these first 20 minutes of the movie. I think that these are the best 20 minutes of the movie.
I agree. Yeah, it's a really good start to the movie for sure.
This is where they're exploring that idea. Yep. Like maybe we've conjured up something evil, or maybe this is a man who's lost the love of his life and is struggling to be a single father. This is the part of the movie where that gets explored. And I kind of wanted more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think of a better way to have summed it up or to have tied it off better than the writer-director did. But I do like the way he did it, but we'll get to that whenever we get to it.
Yeah, I don't like the way he ended it. So looking forward to that conversation.
Yay!
So he goes home, and like I said, not only did he talk to Jordan about this, he's talking to the cameras, and he's looking pretty rough. Like, he's already pretty sweaty. He
hasn't been sleeping.
He's not been sleeping. And he says that he is hearing static in his head. And you and I know what the movie says that static is.
Yeah.
But so when he goes to the demonologist and they're talking about this ant demon, they say that the ant demon comes with the sound of drums.
Oh.
And terrorizes you with that sound to madness.
I did remember that part. But
So
they said it in Latin, right?
Yeah, he had like a fancy Latin phrase. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't trust him. But
I don't know why you wouldn't. He seems super trustworthy.
Yeah. Just put my bloody jizz.
I mean, if he had kept his dildos in a case, it would have been less.
I don't trust that they're clean. You know what? That's my biggest problem.
If you don't have them in a glass case, then they've got to be pretty gross.
They don't need to be in a glass case, but you can't have them on your basement workbench, you know? Like, that's sawdust, that's spiders, that's ants.
Can't be good. Can't be good.
You can't go putting that in a body anyway.
Just asking for infections.
Throughout the movie, Michael is like, I keep hearing this crazy noise. It is so loud. I can't hear anything else. I thought it was the drums from Mr. Ant Demon. And that's not what it is. The drums never come up.
No. There are some things that are left. So that's what I'm also... So, in the end, like, I know you see the ants, but, like, are you supposed to believe that he is possessed by everything that he has gone through? Because even from the beginning, like, you started getting flickers in the video.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. So is it actually just one thing presenting as a lot of things?
Was it all the way in the beginning before he went to the demonologist? I think it was.
Yeah. It was the moment that he just, like, had that conversation with the camera, and then he said, I am this. Like, he was just, like, straight up, do your worst. And that's when it, like, flickered the first time. And I was like, man, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that.
You know what? I think that still is Ant-Man, because Ant-Man targets non-believers. And he's being a big old non-believer. So I think that Ant-Man had his eyes on him. And I think that is also why he scried his symbol.
You're making great points. I think that's a really good point.
Thank you. College essay, baby. At this point, he still doesn't believe that anything spooky is happening. So his next thing to try is to go to a famous medium's performance. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I don't know. She was no Miss Cleo.
She was no Miss Cleo. Call now. She was just a British lady. Was she British? She had an accent, I think. Anyway. She was like
Was she channeling someone who was British? I don't remember. I can't remember what her voice sounded like.
she was just like, she seemed a little bit like a fraud. She seemed like she was doing a John Edwards thing. She was like, oh, I'm getting something over here. Oh, she died. Oh, she wants you to know she's happy. Wait,
who's John Edwards? Is he somebody who does like
crossing over with John Edwards?
Oh, okay. I thought of John Edwards, the politician.
Oh, he's also a John Edwards, but I meant the spooky one. I was going to say,
like, are they fraud? Did he do that? I didn't know. Yeah, they're both frauds.
The spooky one with the TV show. John Edwards crossing over. Yeah, he was a fraud. This lady sort of seems like that, but Michael is like, we have a great opportunity. We're going to watch her do her performance, and then we get to interview her afterward. So he goes and sits in the audience, and she is doing her little song and dance. And then she starts saying stuff that could describe Sam. She's like, somebody you loved died in an accident. And she's walking through the aisle trying to hone in on which audience member she's describing. And she passes Michael, but then she immediately comes back and like grabs him and in a non-accented voice says, you need to.
She says Michael. She says his name.
She says Michael, you need to. And then she has a seizure. So we don't get the rest of the message. But this was like a jump scare, right?
Oh, yeah. I was like, I thought she was just going to be like, she thinks she should fucking stop.
Fucking stop. That's the message. That's the spoiler, everybody. His wife is telling him to knock the fuck off. But we don't get that message. She has a seizure. We don't get the message. He goes home and he still can't sleep. He thought that if he was going to be out and busy all day, he would be able to sleep that night. Still can't get to sleep. Is super sweaty. This noise is persisting. He keeps cracking his jaws.
Yeah, I have a question about that.
Very
As somebody with
TMJ.
Yeah, TMJD, the jaw disorder. I was like, well, I mean, just because your jaw pops doesn't mean anything. Please don't.
No, mine does that too.
And he keeps like, when he's stressed out, he's like, and I'm like, yeah, that's Tuesday. I don't know why you're making it seem like it's a supernatural thing. It's just what needs to happen to make sure your jaw is aligned. Do you not? I have I talked to you about this?
Oh God, what do you have to do? I'm so stressed out. I'm so
every morning. So like I have to wear a mouth guard because I grind at night. You know, you guys already know my work nightmares. But every morning I have to pop open my mouth. You've got to pry it open. No, like it's like I can open it, but then like I have to go to a part and then it pops back in place. It's so messed up. It's not ideal. Oh, I did go to the dentist and I didn't talk about my TMJ because they don't do anything about that. I have to go to a different doctor for that. But they were like, your bottom teeth are crowded as shit. And I was like, okay, great. And they were like, we're going to take out your top wisdom teeth. And I was like,
how does that help?
Okay.
Don't let them take them. Or if they do take them, get them back. Get them back.
I'll send them to you. You can sew them in your stomach.
I'll sew them in my tummy.
That's love, guys. That's love.
I'm not even trying to conjure her spirit. I just want her to be close.
I am glad that you looked all of this up because I didn't look it up because of my anxiety about it. I'm afraid to look up dark art stuff.
I was so curious. Like I thought about downloading Tor to get on the dark web.
Oh, geez.
I was like, how do I get in touch with a necromancer?
Oh my God.
I am so curious.
I'm the opposite. I was like, oh no, they're speaking Latin. I got to put it on mute. Like I can't. If you're speaking Latin, shh.
No, I want to know everything. I want to know it all. Okay, so while he's cracking his jaw, it's one of those flickers in the camera. It looks crazy. Something's happening. Something like roars at the camera. And he takes that recording to an audio engineer. And this is the one and only time in the movie that Michael reviews his footage.
Really?
He's got so many scenes later in the movie where he's creeping, crawling around, touching his sister's legs, and
that was fucked up. I did not like
reviews the footage. Like if he just looked,
I thought that was weird that he didn't.
So he takes this recording to an audio engineer, and the audio engineer is like, "You're fucking with me." Like Michael is saying, "This voice came out of my face," and the audio engineer is saying, "No, no way. Listen to this range of tones. Some of them aren't even audible. My system is just picking them up. Like 0% chance that you made this noise." And Michael is like, "No, I made the noise." And the audio engineer is like, "Okay, well then your camera's fucked." And Michael just says, "It's not the camera," and storms out. Will you be polite, please?
But he's still at the point of not believing at this point. Like,
no, he still doesn't believe.
Yeah, but I'm like, I feel like it takes a little too much for him to get to that point.
This is where the movie sort of shifts, and the rest of the movie is just your standard possession fare. You know?
I felt like it was a little bit different because I have that being one of my fears, or one of the things that scares me the most in scary movies. You know,
you've got number one, pronunciation of Cary Elwes' name. Number two,
or anyone's name,
mirrors. Number three, possession.
But possession might even be higher because I feel like mirrors are bad, but mirrors are bad whenever I consider them as a possession.
I remember you being afraid of possession from way back.
Yeah, it's my number one. Really, let's be honest. I forgot what I was saying.
I said that this movie was sort of standard possession fare, and you said
whenever he starts to listen to the demon, basically, is what ends up happening, and it's telling him to basically kill his daughter.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to do that. So he tries to DIY an exorcism. And I'm going to be real with you. That was the most relatable thing I've ever seen in my life.
I did appreciate the DIY. Although he did try to go to the church first.
He tried so hard. He tried so hard to go to everybody down the line. Like, he went back to everyone. And that's also when he went back to the demonologist.
Yeah, and the demonologist was like, no, it was all fake.
He was like, we just do it to get off, man.
We just like to fuck on top of weird people with bloody jizz on their chests. That's it. That's all. Did you not see our dildo cabinet?
I thought you were into it, man. And then the necromancer just tells him to get out of his funeral home.
Yeah, he tells him to fuck off. Get the fuck out.
And he gets really angry with him. And he's like, you can't come in here looking like this. Because he looks like he is pale, addicted to something, hasn't slept in years.
His eyes are like crazy bloodshot.
Oh, yeah.
They're like upsettingly bloodshot.
They're like 90% red. 10% eye.
And he says they hurt. He says they're painful. But they look painful. I get it. But yeah, so the I don't know. This is where we start seeing night vision of Michael creepy crawling around his house.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the demon committed to this documentary too? He's got to.
I don't know. He's big into
film
the camera.
Yeah, he's got to bring that with him. And he's like making weird growling noises, and this is where we start first seeing ants in the house, and the dog barks at him, and this is not where the dog dies. But this is where you know for sure the dog is gonna die. So he, he's having trouble sleeping. He's hearing these noises. He goes to a psychiatrist. That seems normal.
I do have a thing with this. So the demonologist didn't even invoke a real demon based on the name. So like the ritual wasn't real. The necromancer's ritual wasn't one that we could find anything out about.
Yeah. Also
the therapy, I know it's like probably doing hypnotism, but that is not, they don't do that anymore because and, yeah, exactly. So I was like, maybe they're using he was like, let's use stuff that nobody uses in order to make it like not too relatable. I don't know. I appreciated it for that, but like whenever I saw that it was like hypnotism, I was like, oh, no therapist worth their weight in anything would do hypnotherapy anymore. Like you don't do that.
Because the lights were flashing, I was like, maybe what is it called? Is it called?
Oh, there is one. Oh, there is one that you
EMD. do. What is it? But it's not a strobe light. It's like red and blue lights.
Oh, there is one where you like you do a finger and you like follow a finger and then you go into like a trance state.
That sounds like hypnotherapy. That's some shit out of Hannibal. I don't trust that. Yeah, my notes are incredulous. I'm like, she turns on a strobe and is ? Hypnotizing him ? ?
Yeah, that made me upset. He does call her later too. And I was like, is she gonna help you?
I was like, don't do that. So later in the movie, he goes back and he retraces his steps and he tries to talk to all these people to get help. But he doesn't try anybody else. I was like, go to a different demonologist. Go to a real demonologist. Go to a licensed psychiatrist who isn't going to hypnotize you. Like, these aren't the only ones you have to go to. Go to a different Catholic church. Yep. Like, you can put out another Craigslist post.
You just talk to one priest. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. What are you doing, buddy? So I don't know. Like I said, pretty standard possession fare for the rest of the movie. But in this hypnotism scene, Jordan is there, which also a psychiatrist is not going to let that happen either.
Yeah, I was shocked that Jordan was in there because you don't find out until the end of the session. I thought it was just a camera like set to the side.
Yeah, no, Jordan is filming this psychotherapy session and the psychiatrist hypnotizes Michael and he is saying that he knows what the sound is. He can almost make out voices. And suddenly he's like directly in front of the camera and he's saying the word crawl again. And then he's like laying on the floor, rolling around. And then Jordan, the cameraman, it seems like he falls over, but the camera shoots up into the air and is like filming from above. So this is sort of the end of is this mental illness question?
Yep.
This is like, oh no, something spooky. Spooky stuff is happening.
And Michael still doesn't believe it.
Michael still doesn't believe it because he won't look at the goddamn footage. Watch the footage.
And Jordan
Michael
is trying to be like, you did this. These things happened.
Yeah, Jordan says, look at the video. And he goes on to say, like, should we be doing this? Would Sam want this? And so Jordan backs out of the project.
Because Jordan's the best.
Jordan's reasonable. Mm-hmm. And so the rest of the movie is Michael on his own. He goes home. It's night again. And he is like sitting in his office, really trying to listen to the voice in his head. And a bird hits the window.
Yep.
And he is about to go investigate. Or no, I guess he wants to go look for the dog. I don't know. Whatever.
He's about to leave the house. He's going to look. First, his daughter comes in.
His daughter comes in is what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
Yeah. The bird hits the window. His daughter comes in, and then she says, "I've had a nightmare again." And she said, "The sound woke up," and she's like, I had a nightmare again." And then does he ask what the monster looks like, or is he like, "I will come in and I will help"? And then she goes, "Daddy, you can't help. You are the monster."
Yeah, he says, "What about this? What about you go to bed, and then Daddy will show up in your dream as well and fight the monster?" And she says, "No, it's you, Dad." That was sad.
That was really sad.
That was a real bummer.
I feel like at that point would have been maybe I should look in a mirror. Maybe I should stop what I'm doing at this point.
Stop what you're doing, Donnie.
I guess he was far gone at that point. I guess it was like only a matter of time.
He's pretty committed at this point.
Hey, what are your fears? I feel like this podcast has become, let's just talk about what Chelsea's biggest fear is. But we haven't talked about what movie is like scared the shit out of you.
I'm trying to think.
What subject matter scares the shit out of you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I'm very brave.
You're impenetrable.
I don't like eyeball stuff.
Ooh, yeah. No, thank you. Ooh. Yeah. Can we talk about the part?
Oh, the needle.
That was fun. I did not like that at all.
Yeah. So in this movie, Chelsea mentioned that Michael at some point tries to DIY an exorcism. And that
is so impressive.
Well,
he gets caught on fire. He cuts a pentagram into himself.
He cuts a pentagram into himself. And then later he's trying to stitch up the pentagram. And while he's like giving himself stitches, which they like made a meal of. We had to look at that for a long time. But while he's stitching that up, he's like, it's funny. You'd think this would hurt a lot. I don't feel anything. This isn't real. None of this is real. And so he takes the needle that he's stitching himself up with and he just jams it down his pointer finger, like along the bone. It's not under the nail. It's like along the bone. And
Either way.
I hated that.
When I watched it, I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. I don't like, you can sew up your chest all you want. I watch enough medical shows. I don't care. But the moment you stick a needle into your finger and you're just like, looky. And
look.
Oh, it was so bad.
Yeah, he's
so bad.
Hella possessed. I do want to talk about this scene, though, earlier in the movie, after Ellie says, it's you, Dad, you're the monster. So he goes out looking for the dog and finds the bird that just ran into his window in a different location, covered in ants.
Yep.
And he looks back up at the window, and there's a
oh my god,
scary monster in the window.
Scene. Yes. That is not addressed ever again, except for that moment. Yeah. Okay, that is something that I can say is it. I do feel critically about that movie because you could have done way more with that scene.
Well, and I'm also like, so does this demon have a form now? Like, does it not need to possess you? Could it not go after your daughter?
And it had it in the camera, and you didn't review the camera, even though you were holding the camera that caught it.
Well, but Michael sees it in that moment, right?
Yeah, but he has the camera. That's how we can see it. He has the camera, so he could rewind and be like, and he was talking to his sister, and he was like, there's something in here. But he didn't even think to be like, meh.
Yeah, he's just recording, and he's never going to look at this footage ever again.
Yep.
So he sees something spooky. He runs in. His sister, he like runs into his sister, knocks her over, and she's like, you look like shit, and you're acting crazy. take some sleeping pills. My God, get a good night's sleep. So he takes them, and that doesn't really stop the demon. So demon, once again, is recording himself at night. And not only is he recording himself at night, he has the wherewithal to turn on night vision. And he's creepy crawling around the house. And this is where he like goes into Anna's room and like makes strangle her, but doesn't, but then like creeps up her leg.
Yeah, that was really gross.
Really gross. Like, Michael, you got to review your footage.
Yeah, especially if that's what you're trying to do. I'm sorry, Ghost Hunters 101. You review the footage every night.
Review the footage, yeah.
Every night. Even if it's like a 10-second possible supernatural encounter, you gotta document it. If that's what you're trying to document, you could have like ended your movie, I don't know, a month ago?
Yeah, you got it. You got it, man. You just got to find a real demonologist to take care of it. So, he is finally starting to think that maybe something is up. So he puts a bunch of cameras around himself and a monitor where he can watch himself being filmed on the camera. And he asks, "Are you real or am I going insane?"
I liked this scene because I knew what was going to happen because it was in the trailer.
Oh, I didn't see the trailer. Okay.
Like, I knew that the screen, he was going to go look at him. So I knew this entire scene, which is a moderately long scene, had to have been shot and then acted the same way twice.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty spot on with every movement. And I knew that was going to happen. So I kept watching him, not hoping he would fuck up, but he did a great job.
I am pretty critical of the latter half of this movie, but he did an incredible job.
Yeah.
He was great the whole way through. So he's got all these cameras set up around him. And like Chelsea said, the monitor that's filming him reacts in a way that he is not. And so he has this exchange with the demon. He's like, "What if I just admit that you're real? Will you leave?" And the demon says, "No, we're going to fuck you up."
I mean, they listened to some metal.
Incredible writing.
I mean, even in The Exorcist, so I obviously have seen scenes from it. Some of the dirty talk or some of the talk, you're like, oh, okay. That's how demons talk. That's what you're putting out there in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just goofy. We can skip to the end of the movie. Like, the rest of the movie is basically just him creepy crawling around at night. He kills the dog in Ellie's bed. We think he killed Ellie, but he just killed the dog. His sister finds it. And Beth, his sister, who has been commenting on his behavior, thinks that he killed the dog, which, you know, he did. So she takes Ellie and they go to stay at friends' houses. And then it's just Michael in the house. And this is when he does the DIY exorcism. And this is sort of comic relief. I thought, was the exorcism not funny to you?
I thought it was. And he catches on fire?
He catches on fire and then he's like being yanked through the air. I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny.
I would have called Jordan to support me in the exorcism prior.
Yeah, you'd think you would have. And instead, he makes a deal with the demon in his head. They're like, "Kill Ellie, kill Ellie, kill Ellie." And he's like, "No, I'll kill somebody else." So he's out in the street, like hunting people to kill. And it looks like he's about to kill a homeless man. But then he comes home. Turns out he didn't kill the homeless man. He couldn't do it. So he handcuffs himself to the bed. And he's like, it's pretty classic possession imagery. Like his back is arching. Like the demon is trying to free himself. He wakes up the next morning. He's no longer cuffed to the bed. He goes downstairs. The house is even more of a wreck than it was before. There's a video in the TV. It says, "Watch me." He watches it. He sees that Jordan came to check on him. And we find out that he hella killed Jordan.
You only see his hand with a knife in it.
Yeah, but
did he bleed out from his hand?
No, dude. He was like pinned to the ceiling with not like he had, it wasn't just his hand up there. It's his whole body. Being pinned to the ceiling.
I thought it was like a Christmas, Christmas decoration. Just the hand. Right? Do you not hang hands from your ceiling?
Just decorating the little girl's room with bloody hands.
And then he tries to kill himself at that point in multiple ways.
Yeah, he's like trying to jab glass down his throat. He's slitting his wrists.
Or trying to.
The demon won't let him. And here's some pretty classic possession imagery. He swallows a bunch of pills and the demon makes him throw it up, and the throw up is black. Classic possession. Classic possession. So he's just trying. And then I guess the demon is in control. Demon is in control now. Oh, so he ultimately takes like a small appliance into the shower with him, and you think that that's going to do it, but no, the demon is like, we're finally together, Michael. And this is where it is said explicitly in the film that the static he's been hearing was actually Angels and Sam trying to drown out the voice of this demon, because once you hear the demon, you hear him forever.
And to that point, was the necromancer the one that said that you can contact angels and you can contact demons, but angels just don't respond?
It was a demonologist who said that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One of them said, like, angels just don't respond.
Yeah, angels aren't listening.
They said that they hear you. They just don't care. They don't want to interfere.
But they're interfering here, so, like...
But they subtly interfere, I guess. I guess with the help of, like, with Sam being behind it.
So why didn't he try to contact Sam?
I don't know. I don't know why he didn't do that. That probably could have been a different movie. Is there a movie that does that? Ouija?
A little. I just watched Ouija this weekend, actually. It's not good.
I watched the prequel. I haven't seen Ouija.
Love Origin of Evil.
Okay,
Love
good. Did we watch that? Why did I watch that?
I probably recommended it.
Okay, because I was going to say, I know I watched that, but I didn't watch Ouija, the original.
Yeah, so I watched Ouija, the original this weekend. It's a teen drama movie. I don't think it's good in its own right, but there are a lot of callbacks in Origin of Evil to the original, and so it was fun having seen Origin of Evil so many times to watch the original and be like, oh, I recognize this, I recognize that. It's fun. Like, make a drinking game out of it.
Okay.
I'm not going to watch it again.
Good call.
So yeah, Michael is like fully possessed at this point, and Beth and Ellie come home for reasons unclear to me.
Yeah, where did they go?
They went to one of Beth's friends to get away from Michael for a little while.
Yeah, and she just let her run inside and run upstairs. I wouldn't have done that. I would have known, like, shit's going down. Let me go in. Let me talk to him first before
I'm absolutely not into the house. I'm not bringing her to the house. So she comes in. Ellie runs upstairs. Michael is demoning behind the front door, grabs Beth, chokes her in your standard one arm lift demon choke. Here's what I will say about the movie. Lots of practical effects, not a lot of CGI.
Oh, yeah.
This is where the CGI kicks in, where he's like demon crawling up the stairs and his joints are all crazy. This is where that really starts happening. And it doesn't look great, but it's a small enough part of the movie that I'm willing to overlook it. So he's demon crawling upstairs, and this is actually pretty spooky. He's looking for Ellie, and he's like sniffing the air.
Yeah.
That was spooky. That was pretty spooky.
Oh, gross.
Ellie is like hiding in Sam's closet, and oh my God, I can't believe we haven't talked about this. So do you remember our next series of movies was meant to be about Aleister Crowley?
Yes.
Ellie's favorite doll was named Crowley.
Yes, it was.
And every time she squeezed it, it said, Crowley loves you.
Oh, yeah.
And I
wonder if that is for that specifically.
I think it must have been a nod to the occult.
I feel like it had to have been.
It had to have been. So I appreciated that. So he's up in the in this closet looking for Ellie. The doll goes off. He thinks he's found her. She's behind him. He turns around and Michael is present enough to try to fight off the demon so as not to kill Ellie. And he looks toward the mirror and a coin on the desk sort of shakes and then stands on edge, very Inception totem style. And then out of his mouth comes Sam's voice that says like something along the lines of like, you only have a second, go.
Yeah, something like that.
And he jumps out the window so as to save Ellie from the demon. And when he is dying on the ground outside, Sam's voice says like, it's all going to be okay now.
Is it?
That's my question.
Sorry, that child just saw both of her parents die in the most brutal ways possible.
Oh, you're thinking very practically about the trauma she's going to have to deal with. I was thinking about the demon. Like if that demon was just all on his own body up in the house when Michael was looking for the dog in that earlier scene, what's to stop that demon from just going back in the house and killing Ellie?
Yeah, that's a good point.
A demon doesn't die because its vessel dies.
But it has to find another vessel that's listening.
But does it? Because like we saw, it had a physical form in their house.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Was the physical presence like an ethereal presence?
I don't know. We saw it on the camera.
Yeah. If we didn't see it on the camera, I could think it was something that the demon was making him see. But because we saw it on the camera.
But because we saw it on the camera. Yeah, I don't know. Ellie's she's gonna have a fucked up life.
Yeah. He was like, I'm gonna save you by doing this. And I was like, are you saving her? But like, are you? This is so bad. Every member of her family is dead. Like her aunt is dead in the living room right now because he killed her.
Yep. Aunt, mom, dad, dog.
And she saw all of it?
And you know what? Here's my question about the dog. So in that scene, he goes into Ellie's room and he makes to strangle Ellie. And it's like he stops himself, but then he raises the knife. And later we find out he stabbed the dog. So Ellie was just in that bed. So she woke up to a dead dog in her bed with her sheets covered in blood and the like curtains around her bed.
Well, I wonder if there was time between that. Like, I wonder if Ellie, just seeing her dog dead in her bed, or like, you think the dog was stabbed while she was asleep?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I thought it happened separately. Like she had already woken up and the dog happened to be in the bed, or he killed the dog separately and brought the dog into the bed.
No, he killed that dog in that bed. He killed that dog in that bed.
I think it's possible. I wasn't paying close enough attention at that point to argue any other point.
Just the way they cut it, he like removes his hand from her throat.
Yeah.
And then we see the silhouette Psycho style of the knife in the curtain. And so we're led to believe that he killed Ellie. And later we find out it was the dog.
Yeah. Maybe she assumed the dog was still sleeping and got up.
But there was
maybe
blood
she's a
all
sleepwalker.
over the drapes. She had like a canopy bed.
Maybe she's
curtains.
A sleepwalker. Maybe she went downstairs, got some milk. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. Little kids are baffling to me.
Amen.
Yeah, but the movie ends with the Resolutions home video from earlier in the movie, and Michael's filming and remembers that he hasn't put coins in the meter, and at that time Ellie asks her dad for help, so Sam is just like, I'll go feed the meter. She takes the coin from Michael, and I guess this is the coin that we see too. She takes why does she take the camera?
I don't know. That's probably why the problem happened.
Why did she take the camera? This movie is perplexing. So she takes the coin and the camera, and I guess that's why the coin reacts right before he saves Ellie. One thing we didn't discuss is one of the videos he watches around the time he's doing the exorcism on himself, I think, is a video of Sam in the hospital. So we know that she had this terrible accident that ultimately ends in her death, but she makes it to the hospital. She says that during her accident, she saw a light and an entity, she says it was an angel, came to her and asked if she was ready to go. And she said, no, I have to go back and tell my husband that it's going to be okay. But she tells him the next time that happens, I'm going to go with them. And we are led to believe that that happens again while she's in the hospital, suffering from her injuries, and she passes on. So he's not only blaming himself, but blaming angels for taking her away.
Yeah.
Still don't really understand why he pursues demons.
I agree on that part. Because she came back and she said, he doesn't believe. This is my way of telling him there is an afterlife. You should believe.
I didn't take it so much as her trying to convince him to believe, but just warning him.
Oh, yeah.
That like, I'm still not doing so hot. I wanted to come back and say, I love you and I love Ellie, but I'm ready to go. I guess my biggest question is not why did he try to hunt down demons as opposed to hunting down Sam, though that is a big question. I guess my question is, if the angels are going to interfere at all, how come all they can manage is some static?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why the logic in it is that like the good entities don't care or they don't intervene and they just let bad exist.
I would accept that better than this half-assed like turn on some white noise and hope it fixes the problem.
Yeah.
Like if they're not intervening at all, that's one thing, but they like sort of tried.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like one of those, I mean, it could be a commentary on all of religion because it's like you have to make the conscious decision to believe. You have to make the conscious decision not to listen.
Do you think that's how that priest from the beginning made it through? He believed in the angels and so their noise was louder for him?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. That is a plot hole. That's a plot hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have watched the first 20 minutes of this movie for an hour and a half. Like, you know, like if we just tried different ways to conjure demons, would have loved this movie.
But I feel like, I don't know, I've watched some shit horror movies.
Oh yeah, me too, buddy.
I definitely want to put this one bottom of the barrel. Every actor does a great job.
Yes.
It was very convincing, and I liked that it was from the perspective of the possessed person as opposed to the people around them.
Yeah, I mean, the conceit is great. The conceit of the movie was very intriguing, and that's why I wanted to do it in this series. Yeah. The premise, incredible. The actors, so good. So good. Every one of them.
So good.
Especially that lead.
Johnson. Like,
Shane Johnson. He's alone on screen for like 90% of the movie, and he does a great job. Very compelling. Yeah, it's just...
There are definitely pieces that could have been done better. I feel very positively about it, but there are still complaints. There's still growth. Honestly, I'm excited to see whatever this guy puts. I mean, it's 2014. Fuck, he didn't make anything else, I know.
No, he made a short, which I haven't watched. It did look like it was horror too.
Okay.
But yeah, he hasn't done anything else.
That's a bummer because I think he had a future. Like he was growing.
Yeah, I agree. As a first movie, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Like I hope and I wish he makes another one. I liked it. I mean, if part of the performance was based on the direction, like I got to give him credit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, because there have been a ton of movies where I thought bad actors or good actors did really shitty stuff because the director just like pointed them in the wrong direction. But this one, I don't know. It felt like it really melded very well. And yeah, everyone did really well. It was believable. It was funny.
Yeah.
And I went into it and I was like, I'll be real with you. I was like, man, I kind of wish we had a kind of a funny one because I'm not obviously with my work nightmares, I am not in a great headspace right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I really want a funny one right now. And I thought something like Unfriended, Unfriended is full of just like bullshit.
Right.
So I was kind of like, oh, this one's going to be kind of a tougher one to get through. But I'm very happy that I watched it. Like,
yeah, I'm sort of talking shit about the latter half of the movie, but I had a good time.
No, I think all your criticisms about the second half are valid.
And honestly, part of why I'm so critical is because I have seen 1,000 possession movies. So I know the tropes. I know the patterns. For your regular viewer, they're not going to be like, well, why couldn't the angels help more? You know?
But we're going to be like, why the fuck were the angels not interfering? Come on. They're in the outfield. Why can't they be in the speaker as well?
In the infield. All right. Are we at the end?
I think we are.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This has been Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
Next week, we will be doing A Dark Song, which is a 2016 movie. I've seen it before.
I have not, so I'm excited.
No spoilers, but it is pretty esoteric. So if you like the occult and you like witchcraft, buckle up your little seatbelts and go check out that movie. Highly recommend. Okay, so we will see you next week.
Happy Spookies!
Happy Spookies!